Hello, friends. I'm Amelia, and I'm here to tell you about new ways to learn English. In my last video, I told you about learning English. I went to a big city. I joined English classes. I had a very good teacher. She had good ways to help us learn. Her ways helped us speak English well. Today, I will tell you more. I will tell you about new ways I learned from my teacher. First, I will talk about how to make your speaking better. I will talk about your accent. I will talk about talking to people. On Tuesday, I was at work. Something interesting happened. Two people came to our cafe. They were a man and a woman. They were husband and wife. The man started to talk to me. I knew he spoke English, but I did not understand him. I did not know what he wanted. I thought he wanted something we did not have. So I asked my boss for help. My boss spoke to the man. She sold him 2 coffees. She sold him 2 sandwiches. I was surprised. When they left, I went to my boss. I said sorry. I said I did not understand the man. She said it is okay. She said sometimes people have new accents. It is hard to understand them. She said the man and woman were from Australia. The next day I went to school. I told my teacher the story. I said I felt silly. I did not understand the customers. I was not sure my English was good for my job. My boss was nice, but I still needed help from my teacher. I wanted to know what to do. My teacher said, I understand. You understand English in this city, but Australian English is new for you. Your ears are not ready for it. You need to listen to Australian English more. You need to train your ears. She said, this can happen to everyone. When you know some English, you can go to a country. The people there can have a different accent. It is normal if you do not understand. It is okay. It takes about 2 weeks to understand a new accent. Don't think you are bad. It is okay if you do not understand a new accent. With practice, you can train your ears. I asked, so what can I do? I don't live in Australia. How can I understand the Australian accent? Our teacher said, you can watch movies in Australian English. You can watch funny TV shows from Australia. Then you can understand. I said, thank you, teacher. After school, I went to work again. At about 4 o'clock, 2 more customers came to our cafe. These people were not from Australia. They were from another country. They wanted to buy coffee. But it was late. The women did not speak English very well. My boss helped them. When she heard they did not speak English well, she did something interesting. She changed her English. She used very simple sentences. She used only 3 or 4 words. I could see the woman understood her. They bought 2 coffees, 2 sandwiches, and 2 cakes. They were happy. My boss was happy too. When the women left, I told my boss, it was good how you changed your English. The 2 women understood you. My boss said, sometimes I have to speak in very simple English. It doesn't matter if the customer speaks English well or not. They are our customers. We have to help them. If they can speak English here, they can come to our cafe every day. I think my boss is a good businesswoman. She helps our customers. It is true, we have many customers. Our cafe is busy every day. If you want to understand people with a different accent, listen to things. Listen to short stories. Watch movies. Watch things with their accent. Watch them for a little while. The next day, I told my teacher about my boss. I told her about the 2 women who did not speak English very well. Our teacher said, good, your boss is very smart. It is true. You can talk to everyone. People who speak English well can talk to people who are learning. Today, we can talk about levels of English. We can talk about what you can do at each level. Let's start with the lowest level. This level is 1,000 words. At this level, you can talk about simple things. You can talk about everyday life. Your speaking is not very good, but you can talk slowly for a short time. You can talk to people who want to talk to you. Your sentences are short. They have about 4 words. If other people also speak in short sentences, you can have a simple talk. When you learn more words, you can go to a higher level. This level is 2,000 words. The talks are easier. The sentences are longer. This is the level you are at now. You can talk about many things. You can talk about your family. You can talk about your hobbies. You can talk about your job. You can talk about traveling. Sometimes you have a problem when you want to talk deeply about something, but this level is usually good enough for talking every day. If you want to talk deeply about many things, it is good to know 3,000 words. This is a good goal for English students. Of course, you can learn more than 3,000 words. More words make it easier to talk. But 3,000 words is usually enough to talk about almost everything. I think the 2 women at your cafe knew about 1,000 words. Your boss talked at their level. She had a simple talk with them. After school, I went to work. The 2 women came to our cafe again. They brought 2 friends. It was my turn to help them. I spoke to them in simple, short sentences. They understood me. This was great. They told me they were tourists from China. They said they liked our cafe because people understood them here. How to speak fluently. On Thursday, I went to school again. Our teacher asked us about the school party. It was on Thursday. One student said, "The party was good. We had many drinks. We had fun. The girls and boys liked the party. I liked the party too. A special person was there. I talked to them. We danced. It was very nice." There were also 2 players from a sports team. They were from another country. They did not speak English well. They spoke in short sentences. But they were funny. They made jokes about life here. They made jokes about other players. They made jokes about girls in their class. Their sentences were short. They had only 3 or 4 words. But they spoke well. When we talked about the party, I told my teacher, "It was interesting. Some people do not know many words, but they can speak well. I know other students who know many more words, but they cannot speak well." My teacher said, "The 2 players showed you the right way. The players used what they knew. They cared about talking. Talking was important." Then one girl asked, "So what can we do? Do we go to parties? Do we make jokes? How can we speak English well?" My teacher said, "First, let me tell you about speaking well. Some students think speaking well means speaking fast. They think it means using many words. They think it means using perfect grammar. But there is a better way to think about speaking well. Speaking well means speaking without stopping for a long time. Some people can do it with 1,000 words. Some people can do it with 2,000 words. But some people know 3,000 words. They cannot speak well. If you want to speak well, you have to practice. There is no other way. Speaking is like doing sports. It is like playing music. If you want to play the violin, you need to train your fingers. You need to train your brain. You need to train your muscles. When you want to speak well, you need to train your brain. You need to train the muscles in your mouth. Some students have an interesting thing happen. Maybe you have this happen too. You meet someone from another country. They want to talk to you in English. You want to say your ideas, but you cannot. You cannot find the right words. Then the talk ends. You think about the talk. You can say the right words, but the talk is over. Why does this happen? This happens because you do not practice enough. Your speaking is not easy. It is not easy because you do not practice. If you want to speak well, I say talk for at least 30 minutes every day. You can talk to a person. If you do not have a person to talk to, you can talk to yourself. You need to talk out loud. You need to train your brain. You need to train your muscles. You can do this by talking out loud. I will add more details to further expand the sections. Expanding on the cafe experience. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee hung heavy in the air, mingling with the sweet scent of pastries. It was a typical Tuesday at the cafe where Amelia worked. The bell above the door jingled, announcing the arrival of new customers. It was a couple, the man tall with a friendly face and the woman beside him with bright, curious eyes. Amelia, eager to practice her English, approached them with a smile. "Good morning. What can I get for you?" she said clearly, using the phrase she had practiced countless times. The man responded, his words a jumble of sounds that Amelia couldn't quite decipher. "G'day, mate. We're after a couple of..." His voice trailed off into words that sounded completely unfamiliar. Amelia strained, trying to pick out familiar words. She recognized couple, but the rest was lost in a thick, unfamiliar accent. She thought he might be asking for something they didn't have. Maybe a special kind of pastry or a drink not on the menu. Fear of making a mistake washed over her. She panicked slightly. I'm sorry," Amelia stammered. "Could you please wait a moment? I'll get my manager." She hurried to the back, relief flooding her as she saw her boss. "Excuse me," Amelia said, "there are some customers, and I don't understand their English." Her boss, a kind woman named Sarah, smiled reassuringly. "No problem, Amelia. I'll take care of it." Sarah approached the couple. In a matter of minutes, she had taken their order, filled it, and sent them on their way with a smile. As Amelia watched, amazed, the couple thanked Sarah profusely. "2 coffees and 2 sandwiches," Sarah said to Amelia afterward. "They're from Australia." The word Australia rang a bell in Amelia's mind. She had heard of the Australian accent, but she had never encountered it firsthand. "I'm so sorry I couldn't understand them," Amelia said, feeling embarrassed. "I thought my English was improving, but..." Sarah put a hand on Amelia's shoulder. "Don't worry about it. Accents can be tricky. It's just something you get used to with time and exposure." That night, Amelia couldn't shake the feeling of inadequacy. She had come to the city to improve her English, and yet she had been stumped by a simple order. Was she really making progress? Was her English good enough for even a simple cafe job? The teacher's advice: training your ears. The next day in class, Amelia recounted her experience to her teacher, Mrs. Eleanor. The other students listened intently, nodding in understanding. Many of them had faced similar challenges with unfamiliar accents. "I felt so stupid," Amelia confessed. "I want to work here, but I don't even understand some customers." Mrs. Eleanor listened patiently, her expression sympathetic. "Amelia, don't be so hard on yourself. You understand the English spoken here. You're making excellent progress. The Australian accent is simply new to you. Your ears haven't been trained to it yet." She explained that understanding accents was like learning a new dialect of the same language. It required exposure and practice. "Think of it like this," Mrs. Eleanor said. "If you only ever listened to one type of music, you might find it difficult to appreciate other genres. The same is true with accents. You need to expose yourself to different sounds and patterns." "So what can I do?" Amelia asked, eager for a solution. "The best thing you can do is to immerse yourself in Australian English," Mrs. Eleanor said. "Watch Australian films and TV shows, listen to Australian podcasts or music. The more you hear it, the more your brain will adapt and learn to recognize the patterns." She recommended starting with lighthearted sitcoms and comedies, as they tend to use simpler language and clearer pronunciation. She also suggested finding online resources that focus on Australian slang and common phrases. It won't happen overnight. Mrs. Eleanor cautioned. But with consistent effort, you'll be surprised at how quickly you start to pick things up. Don't be afraid to make mistakes and ask questions. That's how we learn. Simplified English and customer service. Back at the cafe, a few days later, Amelia had another opportunity to put her English skills to the test. Two women entered the cafe. They spoke quietly to each other in a language Amelia didn't recognize. They looked around with bewildered expressions. Amelia's boss approached them. She spoke slowly and clearly, using very simple language. "Hello," she said. "Can I help you?" The women hesitated, then one of them pointed to a picture of a coffee on the menu. "Coffee," she said tentatively. Sarah smiled warmly. "Yes, coffee. 2 coffees?" The women nodded, relief spreading across their faces. Sarah then pointed to the display case filled with sandwiches and pastries. "Sandwich? Cake?" she asked, using single words and gestures to communicate. With Sarah's help, the women ordered their drinks and snacks. As Sarah handed them their order, she smiled and said, "Enjoy." After the women left, Amelia was full of praise. "That was amazing," she exclaimed. "You were so patient and clear. They understood everything." Sarah shrugged modestly. "Sometimes you need to adapt. Not everyone speaks perfect English. It's our job to make them feel welcome and comfortable." She explained that she had learned to simplify her language, using basic vocabulary and short, simple sentences. She also emphasized the importance of nonverbal communication, such as gestures and facial expressions. "Even if they don't understand every word," Sarah said, "they can still understand that you're trying to help them. And that's what matters." Sarah added, "Repeat what they said to make sure you understand. Smile and be polite. If they feel that they are welcomed here, they will come back often." "We are not here just to make money. We are here to help other people. That's why we are here." Levels of English and effective communication. The next day in class, Amelia shared her experience with Sarah and the two women. Mrs. Eleanor was delighted to hear about it. "That's a wonderful example of effective communication," she said. "Your boss understood the importance of adapting her language to the needs of her customers." Mrs. Eleanor then launched into a discussion about different levels of English proficiency and how to communicate effectively at each level. "At the most basic level, around 1,000 words, she explained, you can communicate simple needs and ideas. You can use basic greetings, order food, and ask for directions." She emphasized that at this level it was important to speak slowly and clearly, using short, simple sentences. It was also helpful to use gestures and visual aids to reinforce meaning. As you progress to around 2,000 words, Mrs. Eleanor continued, you can have more complex conversations. You can talk about your family, your hobbies, and your work. At this level, it was important to expand your vocabulary and practice using more complex grammatical structures. However, it is still important to be mindful of your audience and adjust your language accordingly. And at around 3,000 words, Mrs. Eleanor said, you can communicate fluently on a wide range of topics. At this level, it was important to focus on refining your pronunciation and grammar, and on developing your ability to use idiomatic expressions and nuanced language. Mrs. Eleanor also stressed the importance of active listening skills. Communication is a two-way street, she said. It's not just about speaking, it's also about listening and understanding what the other person is saying. She shared tips for improving listening comprehension, such as focusing on key words, paying attention to intonation and body language, and asking clarifying questions. Fluency, more than just speed. Later that week, the class discussed fluency. One student, David, confessed that he felt frustrated with his lack of fluency. "I know a lot of words," he said, "but when I try to speak, I get stuck. I can't seem to put my thoughts into words quickly enough." Mrs. Eleanor nodded sympathetically. "Fluency is a common challenge for English learners," she said. "Many people mistakenly believe that fluency means speaking quickly and without any mistakes, but that's not the case." She explained that true fluency is about being able to communicate your ideas clearly and effectively, without excessive hesitation or pauses. "It's about being able to express yourself naturally and comfortably," Mrs. Eleanor said. "Even if you make occasional mistakes, you can still be fluent if you're able to keep the conversation flowing." Mrs. Eleanor then shared practical tips for improving fluency. "The most important thing is to practice speaking regularly," she said. "Find opportunities to talk to native speakers or even to other English learners. The more you speak, the more comfortable and confident you'll become." She also recommended practicing speaking aloud to yourself, reading aloud, and recording yourself speaking. These exercises can help you to identify areas where you're struggling and to improve your pronunciation and pacing. Miss Eleanor said, "The importance of listening skills." The last topic covered in the video was listening skills. A student raised his hand and asked, "I know I need to listen more, but how do I get better at it? Everything is so fast." Mrs. Eleanor agreed that learning to listen was a very important step in learning the language. She advised the students that they could use audio recordings of different accents of the English language to get more familiar with it. Also, she advised the students that there are a lot of resources on the internet, and that they should take advantage of those resources to learn as much as they can. She told the students that the most important thing is to choose materials at your level and to make sure you understand at least 95% of the words. She also advised the students to read the text first and look up any new words in the dictionary before listening. Listening is a key part of learning any language. Practice a little every day and you will improve. She shared tips for improving listening comprehension. Listen every day, even if it's just for a short period of time. Regular listening practice can help you improve your comprehension skills. Choose materials that are at your level. Don't try to listen to materials that are too difficult. Start with something that you can understand and gradually work your way up to more challenging materials. Listen actively. Don't just passively listen to the audio. Try to focus on what the speaker is saying and take notes. Rewind and listen again. If you don't understand something, rewind the audio and listen to it again. You may need to listen to it several times before you fully understand it. Final thoughts. Amelia's journey is ongoing. She is still learning new words, improving her grammar, and refining her pronunciation, but she is also gaining confidence in her ability to communicate effectively in English. She knows that with continued effort and practice, she can achieve her goal of becoming fluent in English. By focusing on simple language, clear explanations, and practical tips, the rewritten text is more accessible and easier to understand for English learners. It's also longer and provides more context and detail, fulfilling the request. Good luck with your English studies.